Okay, this is the screencast that or the video I'm creating for everyone in Management 3603. As you noted in the schedule that I posted on and here, and I also have it on my door, is that today, on Monday, the 28th, I've got medical appointments, so I'm just not going to be there, but I am leaving this in lieu of having class. Now, that being said, if you'll notice the schedule, we will physically meet Wednesday. Okay, and I want to make sure so we can continue on with this 0 week. And this is, of course, 0 week. And just to refamiliarize you with, I have the course schedule. I have the course developed or organized in terms of modules, and that is weeks. Okay. So, and in each module, you're going to find the material that you need, places to upload your work, etc. So then this getting started area up here is where you have all kinds of resources for the course, and we'll take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and click on this schedule for today. This, of course, is the course introduction. I'll pop this open and take a look at it. And this is from an old. So I'm gonna edit this and just get rid of it. I don't need it here. This is from an old. Yeah. And I'll just delete that now, so it won't bother you when you come back in. So go back over here to the announcements. Okay. Pardon me, to the modules. Well, those are the announcements. The schedule, this is my schedule for this first week of class. Then an invitation, I will do a screencast for on Wednesday when we have a physical meeting. Now today, this recording, I will process it and then I'll post it over here in the announcements. Let's go back down and look at the modules section while we're there and make sure I'm in good shape here. Yeah, we're good. And as I mentioned, I have these divided in modules. This is module 0 for today. And this is in lieu of the class on the 28th. All right. So let's go up here to the getting started area. And this will give you some information. And typically we have a virtual class on Wednesday and a virtual lab on Wednesday and a ground-based session. We're not having the ground-based session on Monday, so we'll have a ground-based session on Wednesday. And then you'll have your virtual lab on Friday. I've got some places here if you want the course community. Folks will occasionally post some things over there. These are some OBU and professional resources. And as I said before, if you want to see what's due week by week, if you want to see where to upload your work, where quizzes are, go to the modules area, okay? That's where you'll find it. And I've got some online reading labs, some resources there for you, some publications, and then course resources and policy. Here's the ethics code for the College of Business. This is the syllabus for spring 19, okay, in PDF form. So it's right here, and you can download it or look at it. The syllabus will answer a lot of questions for you in terms of the textbooks, etc. So let's talk about that for just a moment. And here in the syllabus, I'm going to open it up and scroll through. I have some course policies in here. Also have the grading, so you could see how the points are distributed by types of assignment, the grading policies, and my schedule for spring 2019, which I'll have a weekly schedule that I post over in here in the Canvas room, as well as over on my desk, on the front of my door, and I'll have that over there as well. Okay. we got that information you could see. All right. Here are the textbooks. There are two of them. One is the Introduction to Management Science, Quantitative Approaches to Decision Making, the 14th edition. And I'm going to go over here to a client that I use, Vital Source, and this is the textbook. I'm going to go over here to the library and I'll let you see them. Here's the textbook. This is the main text for the course, and then a second course that we have, a second textbook, excuse me, is this book, Data Smart. That will be, that's the second textbook that I mentioned there in the syllabus. Okay? Now, again, this first week is a little bit different because I'm out of pocket on Monday, but Wednesday I'll be in, I think, well, on the schedule I posted for all of you, I'm there in Shawnee on Tuesday. I'll be there Wednesday and Thursday. I don't know about Friday yet, okay? And you have those office hours. So you can check my schedule for this week here in Canvas, or it's on the door of my office. Well, that being said, we'll go back over here to the modules area. So you've seen the two textbooks. All right, this is the Management Science, the Anderson text. This is the Foreman text, the Data Smart. Now, let's go back to the modules. So we've seen the textbooks for the course. So the course objectives, that's all laid out there in the syllabus. Here's the syllabus attachment, covers in detail university policies, etc. You'll want to take a look at it. Then I have a blurb here about virtual class days in the course. You'll want to take a look at them. I have a list here of in-class workshops and homework assignments. And I give you some explanation about what those are all about. Now, these in-class workshops, as I mentioned, are where we do a workshop and I walk you through a particular procedure or we solve a problem. And these are things that will get you ready for the big projects that you'll have at the end of the course, plus the final exam. All right. So I'm going to walk you through the assignments, these lab assignments, and I think you can see there's quite a bit of verbiage there for you to for you to take a look at. And there's that syllabus attachment. Let's go down to the modules. And again, this is just navigating through the course. The first thing you'll want to do every time you log in is check the announcements to see if there are any new announcements I've placed there. And the announcements area is also where I will place the link to YouTube. I take these screencasts and I generate a YouTube. Okay. And we'll go on down here. I have some information about participation, some information about late assignments, posting of grades, exams. These are some chapters out of the Anderson text that you'll be using, but they're in a PDF form. Then here's a link to the Foreman. That's the Data Smart textbook. This is his web page. And you can download student files from there that we'll be using for the Data Smart text, but I also have them over here in the files section. Then here's the Anderson text. Here are the student files. Whoops, and I also provided you the Foreman files. This is the big textbook. This is the Data Smart. Then I have some information about SAP Business One, an overview. This is one of these tools that we use in management science. Here is a YouTube post on how to use the solver tool. Solver is a tool that we can use to perform optimization. We'll be using it quite a bit. So you'll want to, if you'll see there are a number of those. I chose what I thought was probably the best one over at YouTube. And then this is another bit of information about Microsoft Excel optimization through PDF. This is what their MIT at their courseware. Then this is from a website called Easy Excel. And again, my expectation is that you'll look through these resources, okay, and be prepared as we start working on Wednesday. We'll put our foot in the water a little bit today. You're going to find that Excel Scenario Manager is exceptionally Excel Optimizer, and the Scenario Manager and GoSeek. Those are powerful tools that we use to try to build models that give us a sense of what kind of outcomes we'll get if we follow a certain path. This is an important one, and I'm going to open it up here for just a minute because it talks about the data roles in business. I know, and I get this question in one way or the other almost every semester, sometimes from my colleagues, usually from students, about why are we taking these courses, these BIS, business problem analysis. Why did we take data admin? Why are we taking management science? Well, it's quite simply this. The world of business is demanding more and more that people who are in leadership roles, and really even rank and file employees, be able to see and understand data that are connected to the enterprise, data like what we would call a KPI, knowledge, a key performance indicator. Excuse me. This is from a survey done by a faculty member at Duke, and this will show you the different roles performed in terms of handling data. As managers and leaders, you're going to be on the end user piece of this. And so your concern is going to be, one, do I have the right data? Two, is it displayed in the correct way? And number three, am I understanding what I'm seeing? As it is right now, the amount of data available to businesses is far, far, far in excess of their ability to handle them. And what people say today is that we spend about 80% of our time getting and cleaning up data, putting it into formats that we can use, and only about 20% of the time actually analyzing that data, thinking about it, or saying, what story is it trying to tell me? What's it trying to convey to me? And researchers, computer scientists, information technology people are all working to a goal of where we spend 80% of our time in analysis and 20% of our time in data collection. And you can take this PDF, of course, and you can download it, you can take a look at it and queue it up. But this walks you through the roles, and we'll zoom it up just here for a second so you can see. All right, here are matching job titles to required skills, and you can see job titles like business analysts, data scientists, and the business analyst skills. Okay. And this shows you the relative demand for folks, data-centric employees. This is not to turn you into a geek, but this is more importantly to get you to provide you an understanding of the fact that businesses they have to have employees and leaders and owners who are comfortable working in an environment in which we compete on the basis of analytics. In Business 1123, we have a text there on competing on analytics, and it is in my mind probably one of the most important textbooks for management or business or books in business written in the past 20 years. Everyone is competing on the basis of analytics and their ability to look at them and to understand them. And I can make no apologies for that. That's just how it is. Okay? Now, we'll go back here for a moment. Back into the module there. And you'll want to take a look at those business data roles. And here's an example. I always try to give you a practical example of the way that we use data science. And one of them in data science is in management science is we try to build a model, maybe identify an algorithm. And this is an interesting resource that shows you how we're using algorithms to try to find or to track bad people like ISIS and do something with them. And this is a document on Canvas course schedule resources. I'm going to unpublish that. I would say when you come here, there's 3 places you should go. 1, to the modules area. 2 is to the announcements. And 3, into the files section in Canvas. I have a link here on how to make a transcript of a YouTube video. As far as I know, once I post a YouTube video, you can come back later and make a transcript of it. So you can read the transcript. You don't have to just sit there and listen. And because I create these videos, treat them like that. Take a look for a few minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, and stop. If you have some questions about something you see, send me an email with the video and the name of the video, as well as the minute and hour where you had the question. Okay. And again, a transcript is there. You can take those and cut and paste them. So you literally can see and hear a lecture. You also get a transcript of it. Okay. And of course, there's always, you can contact me and get a hold of me if you have a question. All right. Now, those are the resources that we have available that I've provided for you. And we're here at Monday, and pop on that, and really nothing. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I want to start with just an overview of management science. I've shown you a little bit about, navigating through Canvas. Again, the 3 most important, the 3 places you should go almost every time is going to be the announcements section, the modules, and the section called files. Okay? And that's where you'll want to be. I'm going to close this up for now. All right? And I want to take you into the textbook. Now, if you have your textbooks online, I would really encourage you, if you rent them, you can buy them online. I think it's going to be far better for you to do that. But we have a contract with the bookstore, and they want you to buy a physical copy of the book. So, and you can take the thing back at the end of the semester. The Anderson text, which is the big text, is the first one. And I want to open it up for just a minute so you saw what it looked like. And we're going to come down here to chapter 1. Okay. And this gives us a nice overview of the chapter. And you can read faster than I can talk. But I do want to point out that this is really the heart, okay, of the course. Management science operates on two important assumptions, okay? Really three. Number one, when we make a decision, it's not black or white. Decisions are range from black to white to gray. And one of the reasons that we use a tool like the scenario manager or goal seek or the optimizer is to say, if I deploy resources in a particular way, or if I run my operation in a particular way, what are the most likely outcomes possible? Okay. When we make a decision, we can be assured that it's along a whole range of, not bad to really bad decision to a really good decision. It's not just cut and dried, black and white, or yes or no. That's principle number one. Principle number two is that for us to make a good decision, we have to have good data. It's a story of garbage in, garbage out. And so as we go through these cases, using the optimizer, using the scenario manager, using the goal seek, I'm always going to be speaking with you about understanding, where did you get the data? Is that actionable data? i.e., is it information? Is it valid? Is it reliable? And so you'll hear me come back to that all the time. The tool and solver is really highly sophisticated, but very easy to use. I equate it to somebody who's a fighter pilot who in a modern fighter plane, they spot a target, they lock on the target, they fire, and they forget. Some of them systems, even now, the target's in a vicinity, they just paint the target and send a missile, and then they go there, they take off, fire and forget. This is very much like that. Optimizer, solver tool is exceptionally powerful, okay? And when you combine it, for example, with our ability to use an application like Excel and generate random numbers, we can simulate the operation of a business 1,000 times, 5,000 times, and start to get a picture of what are the most likely outcomes. But we have to have good data. And there's a third piece to this, and we're going to look at this. There's a difference between problem solving and decision making. And as you can see right here, we're going to talk about that. Now, I told you there were three main things. Okay. I'm going to add one little qualifier to all of that. Experience is exceptionally important. The reason when you apply for a job, they want to know what skills you have, what you've done, is simple. If you've had some experience with with solver, if you've had experience working with a database, if you've had experience selling door to door, or working in a retail outlet selling, or you've worked in digital marketing, an employer is going to look at that and say, okay, you have experience. And many times if you go into, say, a management training position, they assume you don't really have the experience. You need to understand their business and understand the industry. So they know that you need time to get it, to understand it. That's something that no one can teach you. They just can't. We try in business school to simulate for you or to provide you with all the different kinds of issues that get involved in running a business, and case studies and assignments that let you see some of the more typical or common kinds of things that happen. Business problem analysis was exactly that course if you took it with me. And it's the same thing here. You just have to have experience with something to really be able to make a good decision. You just have to understand that business, and you have to understand the industry, and that can take some time. You just can't take these quantitative tools and plug them in and expect you'll get a nice mathematical answer, but it may not be strategically or operationally the best for you. So that's why we use a thing called an optimizer. Optimization. Optimization meaning I try to do the best I can with the resources I have. Let's look at this for just a minute and talk about the difference between problem solving and decision making. And the authors give us some verbiage here. And you certainly want to go back in your text and take a look at this passage. And they talk about the problem-solving process as including 7 steps, and they walk you through that. All right. Now, they differentiate problem-solving from decision-making, and that's because they say decision-making is really the first 5 steps of the problem solving. Decision-making involves choosing an alternative. Okay? Imagine if you had a canvas. Let's see, I think I'll play with this up here for just a second. And let me see if I could do a little annotation for us. And let me see, I want to get do I want to do a spotlight? I want to do an eraser. I want to draw. Okay. I think I'll just draw this for us. I got a little bit of blank space here. Okay. We'll build our little quadrant. And I'm going to put text up here. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and draw this. Okay. No, I don't want to do that. Take the eraser and get rid of it. There you go. And I'm going to move this back over. And this is what we're going to call states of nature. And you said this looks a lot like a truth table. Yes, it does. And we'll put another text box here. And this area up here that's true or false, these are states of nature. And let's say, for example, will my competitor raise their prices? Well, is that true or is it false? Now, we can have some responses to that. Now, let's build that. And we have response A. We say, okay, we believe that they're going to raise their price. And we have some alternatives. Remember, from point 5 here, we choose an alternative. So we have some responses to these conditions. Yes, they'll raise their price. No, they won't. And then you could see, all right, the different kinds of, I'm going to turn on the spotlight here, outcomes that we can have. For example, we choose alternative A, and it's true. They're going to raise their prices, so we raise our prices. That's going to have a particular outcome. Or we raise their prices, but they actually weren't going to. That's another type of outcome. And then here we don't. We keep our prices the same, and they raise their prices. That has a particular outcome associated with it. And then we don't raise their prices, and they don't. Now, we can assign probabilities to these. The probability for any one of those 4 in those quadrants. And we can even put a value to them so we get what we call an expected value. But the whole idea is that we're choosing from alternatives. And we're trying to say, okay, what's our competitor going to do? What's the Fed going to do? Is it going to raise their rates or lower them? Is our competitor going to add new locations? And what will be our response? Or should we hire these new people or not? So decision making is choosing an alternative. And that choice has got to be driven by good information as well as your good experience. That's why people who ascend to the job of a CEO, Chief Executive Officer, are people who've had the experience and the background to be able to make a good judgment call when they need to. An educated guess. That's really all any of us do. Because we're dealing in business, we deal with people. And we deal with economic systems and governmental systems, and we have no control over them. So we have to figure out, how do I navigate myself way? Navigating that navigation process is really, for all intents and purposes, it's a process whereby I try to make the best decision possible based on the resources I have and what I'm trying to achieve. Now, the text walks us through a nice example here. And this is someone who is trying to think about, looking at, who has been given some job offers, and they're trying to decide which one to take. Let's pop over to this next. And so there are 4 different places they can take a job. And this is the example. This is a good example of the decision making. And here they talk about, the others talk about what we call single criteria decision problems or multi-criteria. We have one thing we want to get done, or we have several things we want to get done. And again, here we choose the alternative. Now in this table 1.1 shows us the issue of choosing an alternative. Okay? And we're going to try to decide, all right, which of these 4 places do I want to land? Well, we have some multi-criteria, more than one criterion or variable that's going to come into play in my decision making. Okay? And I'm looking at these alternative cities, and each of them have a salary, a potential for advancement, advancement, and a job location. Is it a place I'd like to be? And you see that for each one of those cities. Now, because we have a tool like Solver, okay, we can assign numeric values to these other things like potential for advancement and job location, and we have numeric data in terms of, and we can build in terms of salary, and we can build an optimizer. So this is why this is such exciting material to me, and why I think management science is probably, it may be the most important course you take other than business problem analysis, for a very simple reason. The vast majority of your time will be spent inputting data, looking at information, communicating with people. It won't be a lot of time spent issuing orders. And what you'll find is the higher you go in an organization, the less ordering people around you'll be. You won't be supervising people. You'll be trying to take their input and their ideas and deliberate with them and come up with some type of viable decision. So here's a person who has these multi-criteria: starting salary, potential for advancement, job location. You say, well, Dr. Harmon, are those the only criteria? No, you can have others. Okay, for example, cost of housing. How much does it cost to live in each one of these places? What's the median? How much do I have to spend to buy a home? Okay, and so you could add those on. And what most managers do is they, understanding that, they say, based on my experience, typically, here are the things that really matter to me. Here's what I really want to make sure I cover. And we see a very, very nice description here in this figure, okay, of the process of decision making versus the process of problem solving. It's important that you differentiate the two of them. You really can't solve a problem well unless you have made a good decision. And a good decision is a decision that's based on the best information that you have available to you, in lieu of or in regard to the resources that you have. And we're going to see that all over and over. And one of the things you're going to find as we go through the courses, we can use this approach within every business discipline. We have cases in here with marketing, human resources, logistics. That's why this is such an exciting course for me, because it gives you some tools to have a more disciplined approach in the way you make your decisions. Okay? And you get paid to make decisions. Your career will advance or go down the tubes to the extent to which you make good decisions. Now, as we see here, after we've chosen an alternative, all right, we implement the decision and then we evaluate it. Okay? And that's important. And we close that feedback loop. Here they show you alternative classifications. And this is what they call structuring the problem versus analyzing the problem. Okay? Structuring and analyzing. Companies and managers often get these two things confused. Sometimes they'll evaluate alternatives when they really haven't figured out what the problem is. What has changed? Or maybe they've been aware of something in their environment that's changed, but they didn't take it seriously. For example, look at look at bookstores. When Amazon.com came onto the scene became well known, did most local bookstores react and start to get themselves a web presence and figure out how to do digital marketing, etc.? No, they didn't. And they got massacred. Big box retailers like Montgomery Ward that no longer exists, Sears, which is on its way to death, other kinds of retail outlets just didn't take business to consumer online commerce very seriously, and they paid the price. Okay? So you've got to make sure that you structure the problem, and then you do a good analysis of the problem. And the authors give us some verbiage about that. Now, the authors also, and this is why this is the best textbook in the world on this subject, by the way, okay? This text is the best. It's the gold standard. And this is one of the reasons why. If you take a look here, you're going to see structuring the problem and analyzing the problem and the role of qualitative and quantitative analysis. A person who has been through a set of experiences in a company or within several companies in the same industry has qualitative data. It's their ability to follow a hunch, or they say, oh, I've seen this before. I see this coming. Or, well, this happened. Well, this is how they did it, how it happened before. So it's likely. It's just that kind of wisdom, if you will, that goes beyond just numbers. You cannot be just numbers oriented and ignore experience. One of the saddest things I find is that as people in business, any business, get older, the more and more the younger employees tend to believe that those older employees don't know much. Well, they've been around. And if you're smart when you go to work, you'll start to find someone like that who can give you those insights. They've lived through that. They've understood all of that. They've been there and done it. That's why you probably have had someone tell you you need to find a mentor, someone who will take you under their wing and will tell you about the career path or give you some great advice. Our society, unfortunately, has done a lot to deride what you would call the elderly or old people or senior citizens. But I can assure you that many of them who are still out there working have much to say, have much to share. So it's important to understand that qualitative data is just as important as the quantitative data. And you really need the best of both. Now, I don't agree that just because somebody has a hunch that we should go do this or that. I would want to see the data as well. So we want to have a good blend of the two of them. That's why most companies use teams of people, because they know hopefully they'll get that good blend of people who can crunch numbers or get data and people who can take that data and see the information that's contained in them. And they talk us through quantitative analysis. The authors walk us through this idea of developing models, all right? Models are a way for us to look at the world and to understand it in a more organized way. Models are a way that we build things and we create things, whether it's a jet airplane or it's how do I handle a transaction. We develop a model so we can better understand what we're encountering. And they talk about that and the different types of models, mathematical models, iconic models. They mention each of these. Analog models. We're going to be working a lot with mathematical models. And that's why, again, the solver, the optimizer, is such an important tool. And then it becomes really important if I utilize random data to input for the variables. I can simulate running a business. I can simulate the cash flows associated with, the net cash flows associated with a merger or an acquisition. I can simulate what the cash flows will look like if our company opens a new location. This idea of being able to see what are the possible outcomes of my action is a very powerful thing because it helps us reduce risk. It helps us avoid making mistakes. Now, we still can, but if we've done this well, we're more likely to avoid really bad mistakes than we would. They're going to walk through some more of this, and they're giving us, and as you can see, like 11.1.2, we're starting to build some criteria using some Boolean logic. This figure here is extremely important because they walk you through what we call uncontrollable inputs, the outside world. Okay, what are those uncontrollable inputs? Right now, if I was in any business, particularly one that relies, say, upon foreign suppliers, I'd be on pins and needles. Because when you hear the president talking about tariffs and applying tariffs, you have no idea what that might do to you. Well, if you're a smaller firm and you buy stuff from China and what you buy is on that list for tariffs, and the tariffs are, say, 40%, so if they want to sell it to you, you have to charge your supplier 40% more, what do you think will happen? The supplier will raise their price. They will, or they simply won't sell to you. That's probably more likely. Tariffs. These are things in the world where we get what we thought were good outcomes turned out to be not good ones. It was 10 years ago. Everyone was singing the praises of Facebook, singing the praises of Twitter. Now today, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, people want to know, well, how did the Russians get in there and manipulate all this data? And boy, you're clicking on this data on me and privacy issues. He got called before Congress. They chewed him out. But he may not have thought through the unintended outcome of, if I provide a platform where you can share about yourself with all your friends, and I fund that platform by knowing your preferences and by knowing things about you that you like, and I use that to sell it to advertisers, somebody's going to get mad. He probably never really thought through that. Well, and then we have what we call some controllable inputs. And the mathematical lets us look at some outputs. And they show us here a flow chart for a production model. Okay? And so we see the controllable outputs, the mathematical output, mathematical model that we're going to use, and the output. They're going to walk through different like stochastic or probabilistic models or deterministic models. You'll want to look at that, and they, of course, speak about data preparation. And here they begin to come up with developing the model. All right? Now let's look at this for a moment, and I'm going to give you in plain English what it's telling you here. Let me get my highlighter on here for a minute because I want to make sure you don't miss this. my spotlight. Okay? We want to maximize CX. C is the profit per unit. Okay? And we want to subject to the production time in hours per unit, and we want X to be greater than or equal to 0. So we have this goal, if you will, or what we call objective function, subject to these constraints. Now, the authors are going to walk you through some trial and errors of that production model and report generation. And then they walk us through an exercise, which we'll be looking at this week, cost and volume models and revenue and volume models, break-even analysis, and break-even point. Now, I want to go over here to the files, so I'm going to turn this spotlight off for just a sec. And I'm going to go back into Canvas, and I'm going to open up Module 1. Okay. And we'll cover this in some detail, but I'm going to open up the file for Nolan Plastics. This is a case that we're going to be working with. And the key in Nolan Plastics is over here in the text. And this is over here in Appendix 1. And we're going to work with fixed cost, variable cost per unit, selling price per unit. Sounds familiar? Yes, variable and fixed costs. And then our model is the production volume, our total cost, our total revenue. And we're going to try to use that to maximize I'm going to open up Nolan Plastics for just a minute. I'm going to download it. Okay. I'm going to open it up here for just a second. Now, here in this problem, I ask you, use goal seek to obtain the fixed costs necessary to achieve break even. Note that we produce 800 units at $12 per unit. All right, well, let's look at this. Here's our fixed cost. Then we have the variable cost per unit. As you recall, the variable cost is the amount of the additional cost of servicing or selling one new product or serving one more customer. It varies by the level of business activity. Then we have the selling price per unit, and that's pretty simple. That's what we sell. Now here's our production volume, and we have a solution here of 800. Our total cost is $9,600. Our total revenue is $9,600. So we end up we're at break even. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click on data. Okay, and I'm going to click on Solver, and we're going to see the beauty of this tool. All right, notice that I have an objective. That's called my objective function, and that objective function is B18. and I want to maximize it. Okay? And I want to maximize it. And we don't have any constraints that we're adding to it. All right? We're just simply going to maximize it. Now, I also ask you to use the goal seek. So let's look at it for just a moment. The goal seek's over here in this what if analysis, and I'm going to click on goal seek. All right. And the cell that I want to set is we get the fixed cost necessary to achieve break even. All right. So I want to set B18, okay, to 0 because it's break even by changing the fixed cost. And that's over here. And we'll run this. And they give us a solution. And there it is. Now let's do this again, but this time we're going to use goal seek. And I want to set cell B18 to, I want to make $800. All right. And I'm going to do that. I want to make $800, okay? And I'm going to do that by changing the selling price per unit. What happens if I change the selling price to $800 to $12? If I say if I want to set cell B18 and I want it to be $800, so I want to have a total profit of $800. And I want to know what price do I have to get that done. I'll click OK. And you'll notice here, if I sell these units at $13, I make my $800. You say, so Dr. Harmon, are you telling me I could use goal seek here to say if I want to have a break even, or I wanted to make $50 or $800 or $1,000, I could use this simple tool of goal seek? Yes. Okay? Because we have a mathematical model. I'll show you. The total profit or loss equals what? The total cost minus the total revenue. The total revenue minus the total cost. All right? Total revenue is the price per unit times the number of units I sell. The total cost is the fixed cost plus 2 times the production value, production volume, etc. Well, and we know that there's a variable cost of $2. So we have a fixed cost of $8,000 plus 2 times at $2 of variable cost per unit. That's the $1,600. And away we go. That's how we get the total cost. So we'll do some more work with this, and it's one of the assignments I'll ask you to turn in for that week, that Friday. Okay, let's go back over to the modules now. And so let's just quickly review what we've done. Gave you some information about, showed you some resources that are up here in the Getting Started area. I showed you the text, our first textbook. This is the Anderson textbook. And we did just a short little workshop on Nolan Plastics. And you'll notice here, you also have a couple of tests due. And you'll also notice that I provided you some resources here. on Solver and how it works. Now, these assignments will all due on Friday, the 8th of February, so you won't have to sweat it. And what we'll probably do when I do a workshop is once I've dispensed with one, I'll probably just move on to the next one. All right? And when we're finished, when we meet on Wednesday, when we meet on Wednesday, which would be the 30th of January, we'll take a look at Module 2, see what's going on there. And we'll do a little bit more work with this. Well, that pretty much does it in terms of the course. And I think probably on Wednesday I'll also talk about how this course is front-loaded, and then what we do and what I mean here by flex time and all that business, and how I handle my final exams. If you've had a class with me, you understand this and know this, but if you've not, it'll be a good refresher for you. Okay, folks, well, I thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we've gone over 50 minutes. And again, remember this, if I do, and I'm not finished yet, typically I'll do the 50 when I'm over there live with you. But if I'm here doing a remote screencast as I am, I might run over 50 minutes. If I do, that's okay. Watch what you want and then chunk through it. You could watch 15 minutes. Yeah, theoretically, I'm going to have 150 minutes of class time, okay, each week. So in these 2 sessions, probably in this Wednesday, Wednesday, if it's a virtual session, I will probably go longer than I would in the classroom. Okay, so that kind of helps you get to know where we are. And I'll take this video, I'll save it, process it, and post it at YouTube, and then I'll post an announcement saying, here, you can come look at that. And this is in lieu of of us meeting on Monday. But we will have a physical meeting on Wednesday, okay? Thank you again so much, and I look forward to seeing everybody. Glad to have you back. And if I can help you with something, shoot me an email as well, and I'll be more than happy to try to help you out. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to come down here. Grab my Zoom back up. And I'm going to stop the share. Blend that out. And then I'm going to stop the recording. I think to see these, I'm going to have to do this else. I've got the share, I've got it stopped, and I'll stop the recording.